What is going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today we didn't talk to you about Faraday Future. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down what shorts did, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So Faraday did close 6.02% after hours. It's going down slightly. Obviously, to some regard, is piggybacking off of the negativity in the broader market. That was because of Powell. Aside from that, 49.04 million shares were traded. 171 is the average. Majority of the volume being done today is linked to algorithmic trading and shorting. So you didn't really see that level of buying coming from institutions, similar to yesterday, which was very abnormal. So as you can kind of see, no transactions on the secondary market. So yeah, I think right now, maybe there was something that was coming out or someone knew something, because typically for a spec play, institutions don't really drop combined roughly around $250,000. That's just me, of course. I could be very wrong about that. Today, there was no news, no SEC filings associated to Faraday, so it's just kind of stuck in limbo. In my experience from investing, and I've been through quite a few companies, similar scenarios as Faraday, where they do have an upcoming shareholder meeting where possible reverse stock splits on the table. In my experience, usually those companies don't unveil any news up until 1 week before, because they want it fresh. And if they do a reverse stock split, they want it to be the highest possible value. So not to say that Faraday is going to pump the stock price up to the best of their ability, but they're going to pump the stock to the best of their ability up. So there's just no way to spin that, regrettably. But it is what it is. That's what happens. Of course, if you ask the company itself, no, they're not pumping. They're just conveniently putting out news during a specific time period. But so that's just my experience, like I said. So don't anticipate a lot of news in the foreseeable future. But speaking of updates, so this was posted on Reddit. So I believe this is Omar, so NoFix1930. I may or may not be doing the interview at Faraday's headquarters. However, if it does happen, what questions would be worth asking? So I just wanted to go over some of these and potentially some additional questions that need to be had or asked or whatever. So does the company have an ETA for mass production of consumer price vehicles? I think that's definitely a good thing. Sticking to operational questions, and hopefully Omar, if you are listening, just kind of let the company know, because some companies aren't really aware of procedures. They can bring up non-public information if they're willing to put out an 8K, just saying that this is the YouTube channel's name, this is the link to that YouTube video for the interview, and we are going to be disclosing blah, blah, blah. I've been named in that in 8Ks in the past, so it can be done. So definitely just maybe let Faraday know, and then that way they can kind of give it a little bit more additional information, because I think that this individual has the right idea about mass production, but I think a more important question is about them pivoting to a lower priced vehicle. Like, yes, lower priced vehicle, mass production, that is key to profitability. I would also ask as well, is that being asked of by the UAE? Because I feel like that kind of came out of nowhere at the same time as kind of the whole UAE scenarios been coming up. You see a lot of kind of back and forth, some people calling him obviously a employee. Just keep in mind, like, just because someone's doing an interview does not mean they're an employee. I've done plenty of interviews with CEOs and I'm not an employee. So just YouTubers, right? Just trying to bring the best content out to individuals. Omar's doing the exact same thing. This question, why did they miss the 10K filing last year? And yeah, how can they restore trust? I think that's definitely a good question. That one, in my opinion, coming from, like, you have to also think about it from Faraday's standpoint. Not to say that they wouldn't, like, Omar wouldn't ask good questions, but the company also wants to be portrayed in a good light, especially in, like, with the shareholder meeting right around the corner, potential reverse stock split, maybe even raising the authorized share count. This type of question, I don't think has a good answer. So in essence, yes, I think that this individual has the right idea, but ultimately, I don't think that is something that they will ask. My own opinion, I could be wrong about that. If it happens before the shareholder meeting, the top question would be, assuming all proposals pass, in what order will the following happen? I think that definitely is good. They again want to kind of portray themselves in a positive light, because depending on what order happens, it kind of shows their mentality and their ruthfulness, if that makes sense. Clearly I'm stumbling over my own words, but yeah, I think the order is key, but similarly, I don't think that they will really be kind of answering that question. And they could just say something very like legal, just big. We're not really sure. We're going to be looking at any and all options at the time and blah, 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 something like that. Let's see. On a side note, this is the first time me going through this, so I'm trying to go through where their actual questions are. Clarify China bridge strategy. That is definitely a good point, because when I did a video, especially based on my understanding, it is to go around the US tariffs. So that does mean that you need a US based OEM. When I did a video, a lot of people said, well, like YT previously stated that it's a Chinese company. So yes, I think some clarification on exactly the China bridge and why. Is it to kind of go around, not in a legal way, but is it to bypass the actual like tariffs, things like that. Ask about the recent issues with headquarters, why it isn't available for a lease. Definitely that's a good one as well. Keep in mind, a lot of these questions that people do have could be portrayed as negative. So like I already mentioned, they won't really want to put themselves in a negative light. So I think partnerships, operations, looking back at previous PR, that's something that I have brought up in the past, and you don't always have to be negative about it, right? Because in September, or it might have been October, they previously did state that management has all agreed that they're going to take half their salaries to buy their own stock. I would ask, just not say, hey, you said this, but are you still plan on doing this? I feel like that's a good question to really ask, because at that time when that came out, man, I was happy as hell. I was like, man, this is exactly what you want from management, them to do this. But there hasn't been any foreign force to insinuate that did happen. And based on their last earnings, that clearly shows that nothing happened. So I feel like that's more good things. I'll think of some more additional questions and I'll go through this. There's quite a lot of comments just to see some potential good questions. But I think a lot of people have the right idea to, like, this is kind of do or die for Faraday. I've brought this up in previous videos. So getting the most like transparent information out there is key. Going over some data points though, shorts did return 269,000 shares. 6.86% of the free float is being shorted. 29.98 million shares overall are being shorted. Utilization is 67.31, and then short score, so the higher the number, the higher the likelihood of a squeeze happening, is 62.96, and then cost to borrow is 11.44. So all in all, pretty interesting stuff. Looking at options, today there was $88,000 in calls, 41,000 in puts, so dollar value wise has gone down, but then again, that's usually what does happen, especially with Faraday at like 39 cents and change. Like, it's kind of the closest strike price is 50 cents. So unless you are very, very bullish on Faraday, like, then you might choose like $1 strike prices. But in essence, it like options value, it doesn't really make sense to do anything right now. Looking at the open interest though, for this upcoming Friday, so July the 12th, you do have roughly 15,000 at that 50-cent strike price, and then 8,000 at that one. So like I said, just not really much going on for that. So I think gamma squeezes, it is fair to assume that that's kind of out, at least for right now. Just the company does need to put out something of substance, whether it be through the interview or probably during the last week before the shareholder meeting. The company needs to put out something to really incentivize buying. So yeah, that's basically the updates for Faraday for today. Give yourself a shout out. Did you buy today? Did you sell? What did you do with Faraday? And plus, on a side note, for those of you that are doing options, what strike price are you guys doing? So don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And one final thing, take advantage of this promo. Simply sign up for a new account, throw $100 at it, and they give you 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. Kick-ass deal, link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all you watching.